Discussion keeps the world turning.
This is Roundtable.
1,000 years ago, scholars from across Asia made their way to China to study governance, science, and philosophy. Some even took the imperial exams alongside local students. That era faded, and for decades, studying abroad meant one thing: the US, the UK, Australia, and Canada. But the map is being redrawn. So, is China becoming a major study destination again? Or are we watching the rise of something even bigger, a genuinely more diverse global education map? We'll talk about that today. Coming to you from our studios here in Beijing, this is Roundtable. I'm Steve. Thank you so much for being with us today. And for the show, I'm with Yushan and Yushun. First up, more than 1,000 years ago, during the Tang Dynasty, China was already one of Asia's great centers of learning. Students and scholars from Korea, Japan, Vietnam, Central Asia, and parts of the Arab world traveled here to study governance and literature and science and philosophy. Some foreign students could even sit China's imperial exams themselves through a special category, which was essentially a track that let outstanding foreign scholars compete for real standing within the Chinese civil service system, not just observe from the sidelines. And that history matters, because the same question is back on the table today, just with a bit of a modern twist. For decades, choosing where to study abroad felt almost predictable. The US would be popular, the UK would be popular, Australia and Canada too. But that map is changing. So today we're going to talk about this. Could China become one of the world's next major study destinations, or is something bigger happening right in front of our eyes? The rise of a genuinely more diverse global education map. I love a topic like this because I think it's kind of, representative of how the world has changed a little bit. What I mean is, I think for my parents' generation, perhaps, it would have been almost unfathomable for my dad to go study abroad somewhere. It wouldn't have even been an option maybe, or definitely not on the radar. But when I was in high school, it was kind of the same thing. It wasn't really something that was presented to us, moving abroad to study. Only one of my classmates did it. Her name was Sandra. I remember because she went to France for 2 months. And when Sandra came back from France, all of a sudden Sandra spoke English with a French accent.
Wow.
And we were like, that can't be real. But at that time, this is my point, it might have been a little bit rare. But the world has gotten so small now that it's really not that rare anymore. And it's very common to see people moving here and there and everywhere to continue their studies for one reason or another.
Yeah, exactly. Actually, that reminded me of we also have that kind of summer camps, programs that you can travel to another country for a certain period of time, couple months, but mostly the projects or the programs about going to the States, going to the UK, right? So for years, the US, UK, Australia, and Canada, sometimes called the International Education's Big Four, so hosted most of the world's internationally mobile students. And actually, there are stats for that. Around the year 2000, the US alone held close to 60% of the combined share among those four countries. But the thing is that that's fallen to under 40 since, as Australia, Canada, and the UK deliberately built national strategies to grow their own numbers.
Yeah, I think that's probably fair to say. I didn't know they were called the Big Four, but yeah, the US, the UK, Canada, and Australia, the kind of just the countries that first came to mind, I think, for a lot of students.
For a lot of students in China, for sure. And when I was younger, I think programs to Australia, to the US are seen as something to kind of cultivate your kids ever since a younger age to blend into the English-speaking environment. So it's always been advertised like
Yeah,
that.
and you chose the UK yourself.
Well, that was later in life when I decided that I wanted a postgraduate degree outside of China? Well, first of all, it's because, well, UK's postgraduate programs, they have their own advantage of the short, efficient time of shortening everything into 1 year. So that was a lot of the key reason why a lot of us went to the UK eventually, majoring in English, of course. And also, it provides you the kind of literature and cultural experience that one English major student would all dream to become part of. At least that's how my peers were kind of encouraging me. That kind of got me the first impression of, oh yeah, if I need to find somewhere, then UK is the choice.
But the choice was built around the fact that the program was designed in such a way that was attractive to you.
It was very sophisticated. All the channels on how, from a non-English speaking country, you are able to apply, and also what kind of standard you need to meet, how many British IELTS exam result you need to hit for different majors. So that's kind of already a very sophisticated and very professional kind of channels opened for us. And also here in China, we have all different sorts of services that helps us to gain all those knowledge, even if we didn't at the very beginning.
Let's talk about China. 380,000, roughly, international students here from 191 different countries and regions. Studied here in the 2025 academic year. That's from China Daily. And that number itself is really encouraging when we talk about China joining the world map, if you will, in terms of places where people might go to pursue their study.
Yeah, that being said, there is a kind of a change or shift of the global map of where to choose when you want to have an international study experience. And now China is becoming one of them, and China's international enrollment climbed steadily for more than 2 decades now, reaching a pre-pandemic peak of about 492,000 students in 2018. That's before COVID hit global student mobility hard everywhere. And what's notable is that the direction things are moving in relative to everyone else, because the UK's international enrollment fell by around 6% in the 2024 and 2025 academic year. That's according to their local officials. And a survey of 69 universities found 61% reported declines in new international postgraduate enrollments in 2025. And Australia has a kind of the same situation, proposed caps on international student numbers, though the policy was later abandoned. But the intention to control numbers still reflects a kind of, tightening stance.
Yeah, but if we compare the numbers kind of side by side, China is rebuilding steadily back towards its own pre-pandemic numbers at the same time when several of the traditional competitors, if we can call them competitors, are kind of pulling back. So when we look at why students are coming to China to study, I think it might be changing now a little bit, because traditionally probably it would be to come to study Chinese, to study Mandarin. Or to have a different cultural experience.
Yeah, it used to be such a niche thing among the Western world to think about, well, I'm going to study in China instead of just traveling for like a week or so. Because, yeah, of course, there are people who wants to get immersed in our culture, of course. We're such unique and different comparing with the Western counterpart. But that's still kind of there today. The passion is still there for the cultural and language side of the learning. But also, as we can see, published academic surveys of international students in China now consistently point to a broader mix of other reasons, such as our economic growth and career prospects, academic reputation, scholarship, and affordability, and also everything that comes along with affordability, safety, how it's convenient to live here. These are becoming the new attractions.
I can actually personally see the change in recent years, in just the years that I've stayed in Beijing.
What do you mean?
Probably the first 1 or 2 years that I met a foreigner in Beijing, probably work-related. They are mostly here for studying Chinese history, Chinese literature, Chinese culture, and everything. And just last month when I was playing frisbee, I met a Pakistan student who's having his postdoctoral degree here in China. Now he's studying some kind of quantum science kind of thing. Now, and I also saw a lot of reports are saying that the purpose or the projects that international students studying in China are changing. They are moving from only like Mandarin learning to all of these STEM subjects. So the science and technology, that kind of thing. So a lot of students now, they are changing their like school. I mean, they're choosing their Chinese school for the purpose of having the projects of artificial intelligence, having the new energy projects, that kind of thing.
They're coming to China based on what China is leading the world in right now.
Exactly.
And so they're coming, yes, of course, they're going to have a cultural experience. That's inevitable.
And excuse me if I only mentioned the Western side of the world. And as a matter of fact, I've encountered a lot of international students from countries that we have cooperation projects with. That's also a very important reason for them to come here. Like, for example, I think it's one lady that studies here in Beijing, and she's from Malaysia. And there, China is helping them to build high-speed train or bullet train. And then she's here to compare how things were like in China when we were building high-speed train, in contrast how things are happening right now in her hometown. And then there's also African students coming to China to exchange ideas on agricultural developments, how drones are helping with their local farming, which means so much for them to alleviate their people from poverty, like how we did.
It's kind of what I meant when I said the world is getting smaller. I didn't just mean that it's easy to buy a plane ticket and be somewhere else on the other side of the planet in, 12 to 14 hours.
Right.
But the problems and solutions that countries have are oftentimes very much related, and therefore the solutions that are discovered in one country can be applied to another country. And that because of these programs that exist now where students can come and study, that possibility exists. But I think it's quite obvious that countries like it when students from other countries come and study. And I think one of those reasons is economic. It's not the only reason by any stretch, but if you have a lot of international students coming to your country, that can be a very, very good thing for your economy. For example, Australia, that's a great example. International students contributed almost 50 billion Australian dollars to the economy in 2023, making it the country's top services export. So that's an example, right? Financially speaking, but obviously that's not the only example because there's a longer game at play too.
Yeah, because beyond the money, researchers who study international education describe that a long-term pattern is also showing in the field of international studying. Students who study abroad often build lasting professional networks and also return home as informal bridges between countries because they are the one that actually experience the country, experience the culture, and they are the kind of ambassador.
1,000% true.
Of telling the truth about one specific country.
Yeah, and they become the signature.
Yeah.
From other countries, and of course for host countries like us, we can't be more happier than seeing people from outside of our country genuinely liking us.
And that is why a lot of these governments treat these programs as long-term investment, not just tuition revenue.
Yeah. So what's then different about China's approach to attracting university-aged students to come and do some studying here? I imagine that despite the approach, there are going to be some difficulties too. But let's start with the approach itself.
Yeah, one interesting approach that I didn't know quite was familiar with was that we're trying to keep the talent that are willing to come to learn and study here in China. We're opening up our labs. We're opening up the major companies, tech companies, the industry leaders for them.
The biggest players in the game.
Yeah, exactly.
But it's not like we're forcing them to stay. It's more like we're having policies and encourage them to and create a better environment for them to stay
It's an
here.
imitation. Yeah, it's just a different form, not on a paper. Like, for example, we're now seeing some universities partnering directly with innovation hubs like Shanghai's Zhangjiang Science Hub. So that is a designated high-tech zone built to cluster research institutes, biotech and semiconductor firms, and also startups, and that's all in one region, in one area. So once this is opened up, it's letting students intern there while they're still studying in the university. So that's like a dual collaboration between both of the parties.
And they're interning at places like Huawei and Alibaba and ByteDance. And that's got to be pretty cool and exciting for a university student. And I think it's just such a genius design to the program, because when a student comes, and they can have that, and the goal is to build the long-term bridge, and you give the student that experience, saying, not only can you study and learn in the universities, but while you're doing that, you can have a real experience with the leading companies in their industries. What an amazing, valuable experience that is. Now, and it goes beyond the biggest players in the game too. Local governments, they've gone even a step further. Some have set up international talent parks that offer real office space and business registration.
Yeah.
Which is a big thing, and that helps, if you're a young entrepreneur and you're here studying and you're thinking, maybe I'd like to start a business here someday. That sounds almost impossible when you say it out loud, but in fact, it's not impossible at all.
I think that is a part that includes a lot of aspects for the whole time frame that you study in China. Of course, before you study here in China, because I've met a lot of international students there, a lot of them are telling me that there are a lot of subsidies and incentives, and like inviting them, as you said, inviting them to come to China and studying a lot of top-tier universities, and for free. The tuition fees are all like exempted.
It's part of the incentive.
Exactly. And then I think now what we're talking about is after their graduation, you are also welcomed to have more opportunities here. We're having a good environment for you. We're having real office space for you, and maybe even more like incentives after you graduated. Because what we mentioned is that probably in places like Hangzhou, they will give you a lot of startup money after your graduation, especially when you have a like higher diploma.
It's so smart. And I think that's one of the challenges that I was talking about before, is what happens after you graduate. And I think a lot of students, when they go overseas and study, they think, this is wonderful.
It's time for me to go back now.
Exactly. And that's not, again, referencing that long-term goal, building bridges, having people who can, yes, of course, return home and share their experiences, but also maybe stay here and build a bridge between China and their own country. I've seen online comments from other countries asking that very question, where students say, oh, I finished my degree now, and I'd like to stay in, country A and continue working. Does anybody have any tips or helpful information for me? If it's part of the program from the beginning, that's going to be all the more attractive to get students to come here in the first place, because the student can see the long-term map of their future, not just a compartmentalized this step and then hopefully this next step.
Yeah, what I see is a lot of the Chinese universities these days, apart from the subsidies you mentioned, they're also broadening up their foreign students' gaze by trying to invite them to as many activities and events as possible, so that these young students, during their time studying here in China, which is perhaps a 2 or 3 years or sometimes even 1 year program, can already build their own network outside of their own study, the ivory tower of the research side of things, and already know people in media. Like, for example, we've been sent to interview a lot of those students, and the school were more than happy to try to introduce some of their students to us. And then, of course, some try to have a startup for themselves. Some were trying to work in corporations. So that's all different ways that the school at the very beginning were trying to plan out for them.
this is a brand now, right?
Exactly.
Study in China, turning into startup in China. And this is actually happening in real life. This isn't some theoretical conversation. This is something that people are actually going through. Success stories.
Right. In 2026, a student called Chen Li Xiangjiang marked 8 years living and also studying in Guizhou in southwest China.
Good for her. Guizhou
Yeah.
is so beautiful.
Exactly. And after earning her master's degree from this university called Guizhou Normal University in late June, she chose not to return home to Vietnam. Instead, she stayed in Guizhou and started her own business, connecting Vietnamese students and clients with Chinese educational resources and business opportunities, and also helping products from both countries reach each other's markets. And that's what she said. From the moment that I came up with the idea to the official launch of the company, it took just 1 month.
Really?
That wouldn't have been possible without the strong support of the local government, and they coordinated everything efficiently and even took us to visit a number of local companies in Guizhou. So, of course, what we're saying is that a lot of these policies and governmental policies are helping these students to build up a career.
Yeah.
But the thing is that it is also about the mindset of the students themselves. You need to have maybe that kind of courage of actually starting up a business in another country. I don't think that is an easy decision. You know,
of course.
Naturally, when you're studying in a foreign country, of course, I think the first thing that you like come up to your mind after graduation is finally the time that I go back. But
It was the case for me.
That was
Right?
the case, yeah.
But if the environment is just, I think if it is just welcoming enough, or it is just comfortable enough for you, naturally you will think about it. Maybe it is a good choice.
I've seen it multiple times. I'm not entirely sure. Yeah, that was true for you, Yushan, coming back from the UK. But I've seen so many stories. My friends, my personal friends who opened businesses in Korea. The plan when they moved there was not to do that. But through living there and enjoying the experience there, it suddenly crept into their mind, and it was a possibility.
Yeah,
So
I've had classmates like that too. Before getting to the UK, it's just part of the academic journey. And then once you're there, gosh, this is my place.
Yeah.
And that's what she told us. And she now, I think, owns a vegan bakery in London.
That's nice.
Such a big difference.
and look at what's happening here in China because the support and the policy exists. I mean, think about that. What was her quote? It wouldn't have been possible without the strong support of the local government. They coordinated everything efficiently and even took us to visit a number of local companies in Guizhou. That is above and beyond. And you can imagine as a person from Vietnam in China who had concluded their studies and is thinking, okay, now I'm thinking, hey, I got a pretty cool idea. I'm thinking doing something China-Vietnam related. How do I do that? Oh, let me show you around to some different companies. Let us show you what policies we have in place to allow you to succeed and make your dream come true. It's amazing. I want to play a clip for you. This is from, because it's not just about startup in China. There's another side to things as well. And it's kind of more about the personal side, the person-to-person side of things. You're going to hear from Rory Swenson. Rory graduated from the University of North Carolina. It's a beautiful state if you've been before. And is now studying at Yenqing Academy of Peking University. And we asked Rory about his experience of staying here in China, and this is what he said.
Hi there, my name is Rory Swenson, and I'm from the US. I'm doing a master's degree at Beijing University in China right now, and I decided to study in China because Americans really don't understand China very well, but our economic relationship is perhaps the most important in the world. Also, I wanted to understand better how China's extremely rapid development might be applied to other developing countries to make the world a more prosperous place. My year at Beida has been very eye-opening, and there has been even more to learn than I realized. I'm currently 1 month into cycling from Beijing through China, right now just arriving in Xinjiang and spending every day speaking to locals I meet. And the huge diversity of China is astounding, and definitely very underestimated by foreigners. I really hope in the future more people from abroad choose to study in China because I think that there's really a lot to learn. And it's a shame how misunderstood it currently is in the world. And it'd just be a better place if we all understood each other better.
I love everything about what he said. He said, a lot of Americans don't understand China, and that made him curious. He said, the economic relationship between the two countries is very important. And this is cool. He's cycling through a part of China now.
Yeah, I think he said he's in Xinjiang, which is quite far away from Beijing where he's studying. You see just how kind of like a relaxed and chill environment we're just trying to create for international students, so that now it's summertime, it's summer holiday season.
Yeah.
They can just go up and go to the further western side of China and experience things differently. I was wondering what that background sound was all about.
Yeah, it sounded a little bit like he was at a train station or something. Anyway, thanks for sharing, Rory. That was cool to hear from you. The other thing that he said that stood out to me was that, it would be a better place, the world, if we all understood each other a little bit better. And I love that. And the way that we do that is through these exchanges. You travel to a different country to study, and you might have an opportunity to start a business there. And that's one side of the coin. But the other side is that you can have a really meaningful experience that would change your perspective about how you see the world.
Yeah, I really got touched by that kind of sentiment of you can actually come to one country and experience and to see what is actually true. Because I also interviewed back then in Liuzhou, who is dedicated his basically a huge part of his life in promoting some stories during the wartime. But it is also about the relationship between the United States and China. And he was saying one thing that is, I don't need to tell you how good China is, or I don't need to tell you how bad China is. You can just come to China.
Yeah.
You can have your own judgment, whether it's good or bad. And you will know when you come to China. So, yeah, this is something that we all know. We kind of know that. And we're doing the job of course, telling you what is actually happening here in China. But still, a lot of people wouldn't believe that.
Yeah.
So that is only one way that you can actually prove for yourself.
Yeah, and I think people tend to, we're going off on a bit of a tangent here, but it's interesting, so that's okay. But I think people who have never traveled to another place, they tend to paint that place with a brush. And that can be a good thing or that can be a bad thing. But from my overseas travels, I get a lot of different questions from my friends and family back home. But a question I get a lot is, what are people like there? And my answer is always, well, I know about like 25 to 35 Chinese people, and they're fantastic. But there's 1.4 billion people here, so I don't really know how to answer your question. The only thing I can let you know about is my own personal experience.
Yeah.
And your own personal experience when you go somewhere will be partly dependent, largely actually dependent on your circumstances. And if you go to a place and you have a bad experience, people tend to blame a country rather than the experience itself.
Yeah, that's usually making news headlines too.
You're right.
Yeah.
And obviously that's not the way to go about things. And I think, and this is why I say this, is because when we hear from people like Rory, who can go back to the United States, to North Carolina, and he can tell them that China's an amazing place and, the food is incredible and it's, it's much more than we ever realize. And that's true for so many different places around the world. All right, well, let's get away from the universities a little bit and let's talk about something even bigger, actually. going back to the brand, the education brand, I want to talk about the Luban workshops because I think this is such a great example.
Yeah, I think this whole branding thing is not only emphasizing on the education part, it's also about the soft skills. Rather than promoting individual schools, China's these kind of Studying China initiative is trying to build an entire ecosystem, of course, including the part that after your graduation that we mentioned before. And one of the clearest example is something called the Luban Workshop, named after Luban, who is a legendary Chinese master carpenter. From roughly 100 years ago.
Some people say he developed something like a mini airplane thousands of years ago.
Oh, really?
Yeah, there are like all kind of mystery recordings of the masterpieces when Luban had created.
Yeah, and then the first one opened in Thailand in 2016, and today there are more than 30 of them across 30 plus countries, mostly in Asia, the Middle East, and Africa, with tens of thousands of graduates.
So what happens at these workshops then? What are people learning about?
The thing is that they're not only telling you the importance of education, it's also about the importance of skills, of technical talents. They are also very important, and they want to invite talents with these skills, or maybe teach you these kind of skills.
Hands on.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, it's just another example of how you can build a bridge.
Yeah.
You can build that bridge from within China, but you can easily build that bridge outside of China that extends back to China. And those Luban workshops do a great job of that. There's other examples, too, about sharing education with people who have never really traveled here before or never had the opportunity to travel here before.
Are you talking about the online educational system that we have?
The award-winning online educational system.
Yeah, I didn't know it won a UNESCO award, but apparently this system is called Smart Education of China. It was launched in 2020, and it's an all-encompassing platform that hosts a wide range of curriculum-aligned learning resources that includes tens of thousands of online courses for all possible majors you can think of, and is even aligned with 27,000 MOOCs for higher education. Now, if you're not from China and you don't know what a MOOC is, it's something that we are so familiar with studying here in China. So the Chinese students already grow up kind of learning extra classes outside of their usual, for example, bachelor degree courses. It's something that we grew up knowing about, and now they're opening more MOOC, 27,000 of them for international students too, hopefully in their own languages.
Yeah, it's basically an online course platform
It's a database,
that you can get access in, and most of them are like top tier university courses, which means that whichever university that you're studying in, you can also get classes of these top tier universities courses, top tier professors courses.
In 2022, it won UNESCO's ICT in Education Prize. And the reason that it won that prize is it uses a public digital platform to get education to people who otherwise may not have access to that education. And an example would be, you could be a young person in a rural community who might never have a chance to listen to one of the top professors from, Tsinghua University, for example. But through this program, you have exactly that access.
And also, I believe platforms like that, they are able to give you certificate of, it's sort of a proof, a digital proof that you acquire this lesson.
Now, a couple of years later, after the prize, that's when the international version of this program came out, available in all 6 official UN languages, offering free university-level courses alongside practical information for literally anyone who was actually planning to study in China. You had the application processes there, you had the exam requirements, you had the program details, everything. So it wasn't just a, hey, come study here kind of pitch. It was, some of what we teach you can access from where you are in the world.
Yeah.
It's a pretty cool story. My name's Steve. Today I'm with Yushan and Yushan. We ask you to stick around because when we come back, we talk about this. Did you know that we humans are no longer the #1 searchers on the internet? We'll be back after the break.
Hey there, global listeners. Get ready for the hottest discussions on the airwaves. Roundtable, your passport to the heart of China's buzzing society. Pressing issues, lifestyle trends, and impactful policies, we're tackling them head on with wit, wisdom, and a whole lot of fun. Discover the real China through the eyes and voices of its people. Gain a unique global perspective on topics that resonate universally. Tune in and turn up the excitement dial on Roundtable as we bridge gaps and break barriers one discussion at a time. Don't just listen, be transformed.
Discussion keeps the world turning.
This is Roundtable.
You're with us on Roundtable. I'm Steve Hatherley today with Yushan and Yushun. Coming up, the internet's biggest user isn't human anymore. For the first time, bots generate more traffic than we do. What? It sounds shocking when you hear it, but it doesn't mean that the web is broken. But it does mean that the rules have changed. Advertising, pricing, and even the way that we search are all being quietly rebuilt around software, not people. So if the internet was a car built to serve us, what happens when we're no longer the ones driving it? Don't forget, you can find us at Roundtable China on Apple Podcast, and as I say every single day, don't forget as well that we love to hear from you. So you can send us an email. Just the email is cool, but if you could attach a voice note, that would be amazing. You can share your thoughts on any of the things that we discuss here on Roundtable, and here's how you do that. roundtablepodcast@qq.com. Once again, roundtablepodcast@qq.com. Think about the last time you searched for something online. Did you actually click on a website, or did you get your answer and move on without ever landing on a real page? Chances are, more and more, it's the latter. And you're not imagining it, because a new report from Cloudflare, one of the companies that manages traffic for a huge chunk of the internet, just confirmed something that sounds almost unbelievable. For the first time ever, bots now generate more internet traffic than you or I, than actual humans do. Software is now the internet's biggest user, not people. If software is now the internet's biggest user, well, what does that mean for the rest of us? That is what we're about to discuss. It's a little terrifying when we put it like that. Okay, so with this one, I think we kind of have to start at the very beginning, because when people hear bot, I don't know, I feel something negative.
I feel something cute.
Oh,
Yeah.
what do you feel?
A robot. Or, yeah, there are like something bot on social media that they will only post something about that specific item. Like a cat bot. And then they will speak like a cat and then post only cat-related things.
Sounds very Yushan friendly.
Oh, this is not what I was thinking at all. When I hear bot, I think about something spam related,
yeah. Could
right?
be.
Something doing something illegal on the internet, perhaps. And there are cases of that. Those do exist, but we aren't always talking about negative things when we're talking about bots.
Yeah, because nowadays we're having more bots in our daily lives.
First, to clarify, a bot is simply a piece of software programmed to perform tasks automatically online without a human sitting there clicking or typing. So in my imagination, it's a little television screen with two little antlers, something like that.
Yeah.
But the bot word, that word itself doesn't have any good or bad meaning. But like you said, Steve, there are some very clear examples of the harmful kind of the size of bots.
Yeah, the fake account bots, the spam bots, but those would be the negatives. But then the positive ones that we have in our lives, or maybe neutral at least, customer service chatbots would be an example. Personal AI assistants would be an example.
I know sometimes they can be so annoying
Yeah.
because they will never answer that question that you ask them. But the things that they can actually improve a lot of work efficiency of these customer service personnels.
And at least they're polite.
Oh, yeah, that's correct. The thing is that the questions that we ask for after sales customer service are not necessarily need to be answered by a human. And that's why this is a really, really efficient thing that can boost their work efficiency. And also fraud detection and cybersecurity bots, automated like system banks used to catch suspicious activity and stop attacks can be annoying as well. I actually just encountered one. I tried to pay for my plane ticket, but now the paying app is saying that it probably may face a fraud. So we reject to pay for that.
Really?
And then they stop the paying. But the thing is that they have a good purpose. And they are using these kind of mechanisms to help you do it more efficiently.
Yeah, exactly. So if you ask an AI assistant to book your vacation and then the AI compares airline tickets for you, and then the airline's own AI adjusts pricing in response to demand. A hotel's AI might recommend rooms to you based on what you have booked in the past. That's all AI at work, in your phone, and maybe we didn't even realize it's happening. But the point is that those are all different bots working together. That's 5 or 6 or more AI systems that are all talking to each other, and you've only clicked maybe one button or 2 buttons, and all of that is happening behind the scenes.
Yeah, and I actually have stats for that. The whole shift happened rapidly because AI activity is not spread evenly across the web, but is hyper concentrated, and as you mentioned, in some very specific sectors. Because what I saw is that from Beijing Daily, they reported over 95% of AI-driven traffic is focused on 3 major areas: retail and e-commerce, streaming media, and travel and hotels, right? That's what you mentioned before when you were trying to book something. So retail and e-commerce alone account for 62.5% of AI training crawler traffic. As these
That alone sounds negative.
Crawler.
But these bots constantly get data for price comparisons and model training. They use the word of scrape.
Yes.
But the things that is what they do. That is what AI do. You search something and they scrape through the whole internet and get the information that you want.
There's something else called, there's a newer category. It's called agentic bots. And these are the AI agents, right? So these are the systems that can complete multi-step tasks on their own. Price comparisons, filling out forms, buying tickets, booking travel accommodations, even completing a purchase on your behalf if you want it to. And this is why, and this is kind of the main news that we're talking about here today, 57.4% of all global web traffic is now bots, and us humans are the remaining 42.6%. Those agentic bots, that bot traffic, specifically agentic bots, it grew almost 8,000% in a single year.
8,000.
8,000% in a single year. Cloudflare CEO, his name is Matthew Prince, and he had predicted that this would happen. But he said it wouldn't happen until late 2027. So we're a bit early to the party, if you will. It happened over a year ahead of its prediction. And the reason, he talked about that too, Matthew Prince did. He said before generative AI took off, bot traffic was only about 20% of the internet. Search crawlers, as you said. And then the negative bots, the spammers and the scammers and things like that. But when AI agents came along and they could complete tasks on our behalf, it completely changed things, how it is on the internet. And he explained it like this. He said, if you were shopping for a camera, you would click 5 different websites, probably.
Yeah.
Right? Click one, check your model, compare a price, go to another one, do that a few times till you get annoyed or tired, and then you buy the camera. That's 5 different websites. But an AI agent doing that same task for you might visit 5,000 different websites. So millions of people around the world started using these AI agents, and as a result, these AI assistants too, and as a result, that's what brought us to this early arrival of bots taking over humans as searchers on the internet.
Yeah, I mean, that's how AI is designed, right? That is their like structural advantages of being AI. They can operate 24/7 without any hesitation and fatigue. Because human internet use is kind of fragmented. As you said, you may click into different websites to see different things. But AI, they can operate 24 hours a day, high frequency, perform bulk data grabbing and high frequency interactions that like just quickly stack up massive amounts of traffic.
So, sorry.
Isn't that the whole point of things then? We create AI so that humans don't need to browse that 5,000 web page. Why is this a bad thing?
Because I think part of the biggest problem here is that, yes, this is what AI was created to do, or part of what it can do.
Yeah.
This is not what the internet was built for. The internet was built for human beings.
There are those people who survive on the internet itself. That's not really friendly to them, I suppose.
Well, it's not friendly for businesses and websites either.
Yeah, that's actually, as you said, affecting a lot of areas, and advertising is one thing. And imagine that like millions of websites survive by just selling ad space to like reach real customers. And then sometimes they will like pay you by how many clicks that you get through this like website, through this advertisement. And then if a large share of visit or clicks are bots, and then advertisers are paying to show ads to software that will never buy anything because they were just bots clicking these things. And how can you actually count this as an efficient amount of clicks? Because back then, okay, at least 1,000 clicks means 100 purchase.
Yep.
And then probably you can get 10 million clicks, but maybe only 2 purchase.
Yeah, because there's no real human behind it. And this reminds me that if this is a business decision that's based on these demographics and these data, like how many what pages are being clicked on a daily basis, then it's polluting their database.
It certainly is, because it's impossible for them to know. They can't rely on the data because they don't know if it's a bot that has visited their website or whether it was a person who visited. It's very difficult to distinguish between the two. And it can affect pricing as well. If you have automated pricing systems, maybe the automated pricing system will see a surge in clicks or a surge in visits to the website.
Oh, yes.
And it assumes that that's demand increasing, and then your automated pricing system will increase the prices of those things too. That's another possible side effect of all of this. So websites, maybe not such good news, at least in the beginning, but they are fighting back a little bit.
Yeah, some are blocking AI crawlers outright. Outlets like the BBC and Bloomberg are now blocking AI bots from their sites entirely. And then others are charging for access instead. OpenAI has already signed paid content deals with outlets like News Corp and The Atlantic, letting AI companies pay for what they used to just
Take for free. Yeah,
And
right.
some are using these kind of things. News Corp, which owns the Wall Street Journal, sued the AI search company Brave this year, alleging it copied news articles nearly word for word without any permission.
Yeah, publishing and news sites are they are being hit really hard by this. And that's why if you try to visit a news website, you might encounter the message, "You seem like a bot, therefore we're blocking access to this website." If they think it's a bot, they don't want it there. So that's one way that us humans might, one of the things that you might notice or may have noticed on the internet. Well, that's the reason for that. Another thing that you may have noticed, and you may find them annoying, CAPTCHA
Oh, yeah.
tests.
to choose the bus in the pictures, to choose the sidewalk in the pictures.
In China, they can be a little bit tricky. I feel like I'm in art class sometimes because in China, you have to slide the missing piece of the painting over so that it matches the rest of it. And the first time I saw that, I just stared at it for like 8 seconds. I was like, what am I supposed to do here?
You know what? They actually rate you. You beat it 95% of the users in this website.
Usually, it's.
But if you stare at that for 8 seconds, you will not beat anybody.
Most likely. Right.
And now, and then there's the other style. You mentioned it, right? About like there's a block of traffic signals or whatever, and you have to click on the red lights, and it's getting hard. It's getting harder to do those these days. It actually has gotten harder, and the reason for that is because of AI.
Yeah, the rise of AI traffic has led to over like 400% increase in account hijacking attempts, and also rendered traditional security measures like CAPTCHAs, making them largely ineffective. And this forces a costly and also complex shift in security from identifying who is interacting to identifying the intent of the interaction. Because, CAPTCHA tests click every square with a traffic light, that kind of thing. They're getting noticeably harder. So it is annoying because they need to actually block the AI, right? They need to make AI not understanding that chart or the image. And then it can be also harder for users to
that is a straight lose-lose to me.
Nobody's winning this CAPTCHA game. There's another aspect to this that I want to talk about because this is changing, AI is changing the way that we use the internet too. And we may realize it or we may not. Have you ever heard of something called zero-click search?
Oh, so you seem to enter a question into a search engine, for example, and then all of a sudden the first thing that pop up isn't really any article, but a direct answer to your question generated by that search engine's AI, right?
That's exactly what I'm talking about. Yeah. You get your answer, and then do you keep clicking or do you not? Now, a long time ago, you would search in the search engine, and then you would look at the different websites available, and then you would click, and if you didn't find what you were looking for, you'd go back and click again and click again. It was a time-consuming process, and that now has been replaced. 68% of all Google searches in the U.S. now end without a single click. And what that means is the person gets their answer, like you said, Yushan, and they never actually visit a website. That's up from just 60% 2 years ago. So what that means there is that people are doing this more and more and more. 1 in 4 people, this is the statistic, this is from Pew Research from 2025. 1 in 4 people, after seeing an AI answer, it ends their session right there. And when we talk about a story like this, our first reaction and the internet's reaction, because it's a very shocking statistic, right?
Yeah, AI surpassing humans.
57% of internet searches are done by robots. It makes us feel scared.
Yeah.
So I think, and I don't know, you can disagree, but I feel like that's why this isn't such a necessarily all doom and gloom, this statistic about AI agents outnumbering or bots outnumbering people.
Yes, I like this idea because I was thinking I'm probably being too optimistic about these technologies getting into our daily life. One thing is that, this is a kind of statistical kind of thing versus real world impact, because much of the alarm is described as statistical anxiety. We're actually seeing the number like surpassing humans' number. But the thing is that that's how AI is designed. That's how they work.
Yeah.
That's how they can interact with data 24/7 without any fatigue. And that they just have that kind of calculation power to be like that.
It's not even new, though. I mean, the whole CAPTCHA or whatever.
Yeah, it's been there for years.
Prove that you're human has been on the internet for, in China, it's been on the internet for almost a decade, right? WeChat is part of the cybersecurity law here, and that's from 2017. That required, at that time, real name verification on WeChat and Weibo and Douyin and Taobao. They all required your identity or phone number.
But back then, that's mainly for payment. Or something that's more private and personal.
It's true. They had to link to your account.
Yeah.
But it's still a large scale example, a live example of the kind of let's prove who's real system that we're kind of living in now. But the point is it's been there for a long time. So when we see a headline like this, we're like, but we really shouldn't be too shocked. And by the way, the Cloudflare CEO said this is coming in 2027 anyway.
Yeah.
So let's not freak out too much about this, huh? All right, that'll do it for today's roundtable. Thank you very much for being a part of our program today. Thank you to Yushan. Thank you to Yushan. And thank you to you, as always, for tuning in. You can find us on Apple Podcasts. You can search at Roundtable China. I'm Steve Hatherley, and we'll see you next time.